Hi team, episode 3 of SpriteKit How Do I, SpriteKit examples that hopefully are going to help you make your SpriteKit games. I have 4 examples I want to show you in this video. One group was asking about making a sprite change periodically into something else. And rather than delete the sprite and add a new sprite and then delete that new sprite and add another one and do something like that, I'm using a different technique here to give this effect of turning the blue circle into a square. And I'm using this property called isHidden. And this is a property that you can set on any sprite that just controls whether it's visible on the screen or not. So I create a blue circle and a yellow square. I create. Down here, I give them the same position. So both of them are located at the point 250, 250. But for the blue circle, I'm initially setting that to be false. And for the yellow square, I'm setting isHidden to be true. So if something is hidden, it won't be visible on the screen. I also have created this other variable, which is called ShowYellowSquare, and I'm making that false. Inside of the didFinishUpdate function, so that's constantly running every frame of your game, I'm saying if ShowYellowSquare is false, I am setting yellowSquare.isHidden equal to true, and I'm setting blueCircle.isHidden equal to false. Because in this case, if ShowYellowSquare is false, I want to show the blue circle, and then I have the else case where otherwise, if ShowYellowSquare is true, I want to hide the blue circle and show the yellow square. And finally, what I'm doing is every 50 frames, I'm using this frame count variable, and I'm just switching the value of ShowYellowSquare. You might remember from last semester that this operator is the not operator, so I am setting ShowYellowSquare equal to the opposite of ShowYellowSquare every 50 frames of the game. And that gives us the effect that you see on the screen right now. I also had some students today asking, how do you change the properties of the text so that it's easier to see? This group had kind of a busy background and some very skinny font that was not that easy to see on the background. To demonstrate this, what I've done is I've created a text sprite and I've given it the text hard to see, as you can see on the screen. I've set its position, and I'm using the font name Helvetica New. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not. But this is just a font that's on the system. And you can actually use any font that is installed in macOS in SpriteKit. And you just have to have the name right. If you want that font to be bold, you just add bold to the name. And there are a number of fonts that actually have that as the way you select whether you want it to appear bold or italicized or just regular. When I run this code, it shows the hard to see sprite, and I have it so that when you click, it now turns easy to see. So you might have in the back of your mind, well, that was definitely an event. What event was that? Take a moment just to think about which event I'm going to scroll down to. Here it is. Hopefully you guessed touches began. And this is where I'm changing the text. I am changing the font name from the regular Helvetica New to Helvetica New Bold. I'm making it much bigger using the font size of 80, and I'm setting its font color equal to yellow. And that's how you can dynamically change the appearance of a font in SpriteKit. Another group today was trying to get contact events to work, but this group had multiple sprites of different categories. And I realize all the examples that I've given you so far have been contact events between really only 2 categories. So in this game, I've actually added 3 categories. I have the player, I have the green category, which is everything you see on the screen, which is green, and the blue category. And so we need to be able to differentiate between contact events of the player and the green items, and also the player and the blue item. My player sprite, I have to remember to give it the player category, so that's the same. And I have to update the player sprite contact test bit mask to say I want the didBegin function to be called anytime the player sprite contacts either the green category or the blue category. So now I've added, using this OR operator, that second category. Now down here, I'm using another piece of code to add the green items to the screen. This is something I've used in other videos just with a for loop, but I'm using this stride function so that I'm creating the blue items from x equals 50 to x equals 450 with a step of 50 in between. And I do that also for the blue items. You can see it's kind of the same code there. Just as before, I'm adding the category bit mask for the green items. I'm setting those to be green category. And down here for the blue items, I'm setting the category to be blue category down here. Let's actually run this code and see what it does. So I can move it left and right by tapping the screen. And as I move up, notice I contacted both a green and a blue, so both scores went up. But if I move down, I'm only increasing the score based on the item that I contacted. All of the magic for this is happening down here in the didBegin function. And most of this looks the same as the other examples that I've given you. We have body A and body B for the collision. Each time there's only one sprite contacting another one sprite at a time. And I'm figuring out the contact type based on the category of each of those sprites. What's different here is that I am creating two different kinds of player contact. I'm doing player contact blue by doing player category or blue category, and I'm doing player contact green by doing player category or green category. And then the only change that I'm doing down here is I am checking to see if the contact type is the player contacting blue or the player contacting green. And in each case, I'm making sure that the item I remove from the screen is the item. So I'm checking to see if body A has a blue category. That means that body A is the blue item, so I remove body A from the parent. Otherwise, that means body B is the blue item, so I remove it from the parent. And it's the same thing down here, but for the green item. And the last thing that I'm doing is I'm updating the number of blue, which is a variable I put up top, and I'm updating the blue score label so that it shows how many of each sprite I have actually contacted. I didn't mention up here, this is where I defined those blue score label and the green score label, and I also defined those two variables for the number of blue and the number of green so that I can keep track of these while my game is running. Last example, and this is from a student who wants to make things spawn off screen and also wants to make it so that when things pass through the edge of the screen, they kind of disappear. So we always have this never-ending series of circles. Now, the way I'm doing this is by going down. You can see I'm creating some circles on the screen, and that's just so that they appear initially on the screen. When I just run, you see there are 10 on the screen and they start leaving. And then this is also simultaneously, as those leave, creating new circles on the left-hand side of the screen. So I'm creating a shape node, giving it a physics body, giving it a velocity. I'm setting isDynamic equal to true. And also so they don't slow down, I'm giving it a linear damping property that is just 0. And this is very important. I'm giving it a name of circle so that I can identify all of the circles that are on the screen. Down here inside the didFinish update function, I'm using something that I used in the last video where I'm going through every single node that has the name circle in it, so it's all the blue circles, and I'm saying if the position of that circle is beyond 500, which is the right-hand side of my screen, I just remove it from the scene. So if there are any circles that have gone beyond the 500, I want to remove them from the scene. And then what I'm doing is every 30 frames, I am setting frame count equal to 0, so I'm resetting that every 30 frames. And then I'm using the same code that I had before. I'm creating a new circle. There are a couple things I want you to notice about it. I'm creating it off screen. I'm saying -100, so it's not on the screen, but it can move onto the screen. And then I'm giving it that velocity to the right so that it moves onto the screen. And because it's happening outside of the scene, you don't really see it. Now there is one last thing that I did to make this happen. Because I don't want there to be collisions of these circles with the edge of the scene, I actually disabled the physics body that goes around the entire edge of the scene. If I enable that, this is what happens. So you can see them just sort of filling up and bouncing back, and that's not what I want to have happen. So when I disable the physics body on the edge, those circles just pass right by the edge of the scene as if there was nothing there. Now the last thing I'm going to show is inside the touches began function. So you can see this is similar to something that we used in a previous example. I'm going through every circle and I'm trying to find out if the circle contains the location of a touch, then I want to remove that circle from the screen, and theoretically I could also increase the score. I'm not doing that in this example. Now this is a little bit harder to show with the smaller version of the scene because the location of the click isn't quite as accurate. So you can see now that I've made it so that when I click on the circles, and that click is actually located inside, kind of fun, then those circles are being removed from the scene. But since I'm always adding new circles from the left-hand side, it doesn't matter. I can do this forever. And that's it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.